Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. In today's video we've got two stories and both of them have updates, so let's get started with the first one. This post is from the subreddit Off My Chest and it's by user CatOwnerVictim. My husband-to-be wants everyone to know I'm not pure. It's exactly what the title says. I've been with my fiance for 6 years and engaged for the past 8 months. I've been doing most of the wedding planning, but my fiance, let's just call him Ryan, will give his input here and there. So, about a month ago, Ryan, out of nowhere, said he was talking to some of his co-workers and thought that I shouldn't wear a white dress. This was totally weird to me. Ryan is a very artistic guy, so I figured this was more about how the photos would turn out or something along those lines, but I'm set on wearing white. I told him this and I could see that he was annoyed, but he let it go. Then 2 weeks ago, I finally picked up and paid for my dress and this caused a huge argument. Ryan again came to me very annoyed. He asked to see the dress I picked, but I said no because I wanted it to be a surprise for our wedding day. He asked me to tell him at least what color it was, and when I said white, he threw a fit. I honestly do not see why this was a big deal. Almost everyone wears white on their wedding day. When I asked him what color he thought I'd be wearing, he told me I should wear red. Again, this was super weird to me. I asked him why I would wear red to our wedding and he told me that brides only wear white when they are pure. For some background, Ryan and I started dating when I was 21 and he just turned 20. He was a virgin when we met, and I only had one other person who was my ex-boyfriend of 4 years throughout high school. This caused a lot of problems during the first year of our relationship. We almost did not continue dating because of how insecure he felt. After that first year, it was never a problem again, I guess. He went to his mom about all of this, thinking she would convince me, but she's on my side. So 2 nights ago, Ryan, his mom, and I stood in our living room and argued about my sex life being shown in a dress. His mom stated that he is no longer a virgin either, so maybe he should wear red too. And he burst out crying. Ryan is still stating that my wearing white would be deceiving all of the guests and that it is different for guys. This all has honestly made me question even marrying this man. I don't know if it's just because everything is so fresh, but I'm really disgusted by him. He's not even religious, so I know this is just about him thinking about me losing my virginity at 18 before I even knew him. I just needed to rant to anyone about how psycho this is. Yeah, OP, I concur. This is absolutely psycho. Look, as far as I'll go is I can understand it, but I would still hard disagree if it was a religious thing. But you've stated that it's not even that. This is apparently just him trying to put you down in front of everybody. Like, what's the point, really? This is the way your future husband feels about you, so he's already looking down on you. In my opinion, this is a huge red flag in the realm of respect. This guy does not respect you. He believes that the opinion of others is more important than you. And the fact that he broke down crying because his mom was on your side, like honestly, what is this guy battling with? He's got some issues he needs to solve. But seriously, OP, this is him showing you who he is. I wouldn't go any further in this relationship. This is where I would get out. Like, if you didn't see any red flags before this is the one that's telling you, end of the line. And what do you guys think about OP's situation? What would you do if you were in her shoes, and how fast would you run away? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Bleepy Bleeperson says, here's what you do. Pack an overnight bag with clothes and toiletries for a few days. Go move in with a friend or family member or check into a hotel. Immediately begin separating any shared finances or accounts. Make sure you have access to your money and that he doesn't. Then call him and let him know the relationship is over. No second chances. No one last try. This was his second chance to get over his stupid insecurity and he blew it. Arrange to get the rest of your belongings and find a new permanent place to live. Tow Truck 73 says he's got no idea. The bride wearing white to symbolize virginity was something that dates back to the Renaissance. However, in the majority of Western countries, it has come to symbolize the bride's first wedding, and even that isn't taken seriously by brides on their second or more weddings. The fact that he refuses to back down and that he's offended by his mom suggesting he wear red too shows that he has a distinct lack of maturity. It's different for guys. That sounds like something you'd hear in an old-fashioned Italian or Greek wedding, where religion makes a much bigger deal about the bride's virginity than the groom's. He's either showing some kind of insecurity about being sexually inexperienced or trying to assert his dominance. Think very carefully about your future. With all the information you have now, try to picture your life with him 5 years from now. I personally think this might be the tip of an iceberg of stupid arguments. As others have said, find somewhere to stay that's away from where you currently live. Don't tell your fiancé or anyone you can't trust to keep their mouth shut where that is. He can grovel and apologize, but his refusal to back down suggests he thinks you're the one who has to make all the compromises. A good relationship is all about finding common ground. Something he doesn't appear to have a knack for doing. GrayCat17 says, look, if he's this insecure after 6 years together, things are not going to improve. Is he going to mention your impurity in his wedding speech? Is he going to try to leverage this in your marriage to get what he wants? Is he going to demand paternity tests for your children? I'd seriously consider what you are signing up for. Dude sounds messed up as F. Alright, well, the community agrees. There's no coming back from this one for him, and OP should put distance in between the both of them. Now, unfortunately, OP did not respond to any comments, so we have no additional context. However, we do have a few posts, and one of them, of course, is the update. But before we get to that one, I'm going to read you guys another post that was written just 2 weeks after this original post, and then we're gonna finish the story with the update. But before all of that, if you're enjoying this video so far, please don't forget to click that like button, write a comment for me, and of course, subscribe if you like my content and haven't done so yet. This post is from the subreddit Dating Advice, and it's by the same OP. What do I wear on my first date in 6 years? I'm in my late 20s and just broke off an engagement. This is going to be my first date in many years. We're going to a nice waterfront seafood restaurant in North Carolina. It's a beach, but also November, so I have no idea what would be appropriate. It was short and precise, but it tells us exactly where OP is. And to this question, I would say, OP, you could consider wearing white because who really cares? Now, as I said, that post was from 2 weeks after the original post, but it doesn't tell us anything more than they just broke up. So now let's finish this story with the update that is 14 months after the original post and tells us everything else we need to know. This is my update 1 year later on the whole situation. I will start by saying I did not get married. Ryan made that decision quite easy for me. I remember reading a comment that said I had to be already done with the relationship for me to move on so fast. That statement was very true. As much as I want to be the bigger person and not slander Ryan, he deserves it. I won't get into all of our issues, but there are some big ones that I would like to address. The absolute deal breaker for me had nothing to do with the red dress. Instead, it was all of his little lies that built up throughout our entire relationship. Ryan is very smart and I can't take that away from him. We actually met because even though I am a year older than him, he graduated a year before me. We had mutual classes. But for someone so smart, he always got caught in dumb lies. As far as I know, he never cheated on me though. That was something that I know a lot of people assumed, but even now, I don't believe it. There was never any big lie that caused massive drama, but rather a mountain of little white lies that always made me question why. He would lie to people about having allergies. He would lie about stopping for food before coming home. He would lie about losing weight. He is a healthy weight with a very normal build. He would just lie about so many things that did not matter. My issue with this is I had absolutely no trust in the man over literally nothing. I never held him back from doing things. He never asked permission to do things. So his going out of his way to lie about meaningless things really made me start to resent him. I do not think he ever talked to his coworkers about the dress. I think that was another lie. After telling him I did not want to be together anymore, I asked him about everything that happened surrounding the wedding. I got no real answers out of him, and to this day, I have no real closure for that. My best assumption is that he got sucked into misogynistic forums surrounding purity and made up a story to bring it up to me. Our breakup was pretty nasty since he talked about me a lot online. For the most part, I had no support. No one ever reached out to me or threatened me, but it's still annoying having my feed filled with rumors I cheated and broke up our engagement over nothing. There was a lot of name calling as well. Apparently, I was run through, I'm fat, I let myself go, and I look miserable without him. Eventually, he stopped on his own, as I never acknowledged any of it. Even with the online harassment, he never really fought to save our engagement. I was actually hurt by how he seemed equally as ready to part ways. We have no contact with each other at all, but I do know that last month, he actually got engaged again. All I know about the girl is that she is 23, a hardcore Catholic, and actually looks very sweet. For her sake, I hope they work out. I do not still talk to Ryan's mom, sorry to disappoint. She was very kind to me through everything, but for me to continue talking to her would be a bit weird. I still got a happy birthday text and a Merry Christmas. Also, I did have a date 2 weeks after I called off my engagement. That didn't go anywhere, and it was never meant to. For me, the date was just to see if I felt any guilt for moving on, which I had none. However, I actually wore white, and I'm still single. I also had a huge career shift 2 months ago, and I'm now living in Philadelphia, far away from all the drama. Funnily enough, the only relationship I'm in currently is with my career, and I couldn't be happier. I'm happy with where I am, and he seems happy with his life. I don't think I'll ever have to interact with him again. I'm sorry for waiting so long to update. There was just never really a right moment. There are also probably many grammatical errors, but whatever. Alright, well OP, I'm gonna call it a happy and positive update for you. You moved away from the drama, you cut off that relationship, he's doing his own thing with a new partner, maybe they're suited for each other, we don't know, we don't care. You're doing great, you're happy with where you are, so on that note OP, here's wishing you the best in the future. Thanks for sharing and take care. And now, let's move on to the next post that, like I said in the beginning of the video, also has an update. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole, and it's by user AlternativeCorgi301. Am I the A-hole for ruining a baby name? I am Brazilian, but I've been living in the US for 3 years. My first language is Brazilian Portuguese. I have a 4-year-old son, and I'm pregnant with a girl due in May. My son is friends with a girl whose mother, I'll call her Becca, is also pregnant. She's a couple of weeks before me and is also expecting a third girl. Since we take our kids on playdates almost weekly, we frequently talk about our pregnancies. Becca is into unique names, not uniques or tragedies, but names that she and her husband create. It's not my style, but she managed to come up with genuinely nice names for both her older daughters. So there was never really a reason for me to say anything. This time, Becca and her husband had a lot of trouble coming up with a new name. She first brought this up last December. For months, they'd tried to create something that sounded good with no success. We took our kids on a play date at a park this weekend. When we sat down for a snack, Becca excitedly told me they'd finally settled on a name. I was really happy for her and asked what they'd chosen. Narina. To those who don't know, that's Portuguese for nostril. Narina. I managed to control myself and told her it sounded lovely, but my son let out a giggle. My husband and I are raising him bilingual, so he speaks Portuguese, and Becca wanted to know why. I tried to brush it off, but she kept insisting. Eventually, I told her that while Narina could be a lovely name, it was also the Portuguese word for nostril. Becca seemed really sad to hear that. She said she'd think of something else but had fallen in love with Narina. After we went home, Becca's husband called me. He was furious at me for ruining the only name they had agreed on. Apparently, he fought with Becca because she told him she wanted to think of something else. He argued they'd never visit Brazil anyway, so they shouldn't have to change the name, but Becca refused to use Narina. My husband agrees that their fight is not my fault, but thinks I didn't need to tell Becca anything since Americans are unlikely to know what Narina means. Am I the a-hole? No, OP, of course you're not the a-hole. She wanted to know what your son was giggling about. You tried to play cool and she insisted, so then you just told her the truth. It's not like she said, oh yeah, my girl's name is gonna be Narina, and you were like, wah ha 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 ha. That sounds like a nose to me. That would have made you an a-hole, but no. And her husband, well, he's the a-hole for involving you in their fight. It's not your fault. She pushed you. Maybe he's just frustrated because it took them so long to get to this name, and now she doesn't want anything to do with it because of what you told her. But again, she pushed you for it. Anyways, again, not the a-hole OP. And what do you guys think? What is your judgment? Let me know in the comment section. And now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Test Monkey Alpha says, not the a-hole. I'm shocked they didn't bother Googling their name ideas as they came up with them. I see Narina as Nostril on the first page of search results. Hazel2468 says, not the a-hole. You want to know what I think? I think that her jerk of a husband would have called you livid that you didn't warn them when they inevitably met someone who knows Portuguese and knows what the kid's name means. He's rude. And Big Asparagus 9383 says, not the a-hole. What did he want you to not tell her? OP's edit. This was not my son's fault. He is 4 years old and had an honest reaction to hearing a baby would essentially be named Nostril. I get that some people might think I was the a-hole, but I don't blame my child for this. OP's edit too. Okay, a lot of people are misreading Narina as Narnia. No real comment on that, but the Chronicles of Nostril has a nice ring to it. Alright, well, the majority of the community judged OP to not be the a-hole, and apparently there was some people there who thought the son was an a-hole, which I find very odd. Anyways, let's move on to the update to see how this story ends. Hey Reddit, thank you for all your feedback and advice on my original post. First of all, I want to clarify that I never told Becca not to name her daughter Narina. I just told her what it meant in Portuguese, and only because my son laughed. Again, this wasn't his fault. It was my translation that made her change the name, but that was still her decision. I got a DM about how I shouldn't have involved my native language in Becca's choice for her daughter's name, which was also not the case. I found no joy in telling Becca what it meant. There are plenty of normal names in the English language I can ruin with Portuguese. I've actually been listing some since my first post, but I wouldn't translate them without being asked to. And many of you came forward saying that Narina was also a flower, the Finnish word for a creaking sound, and an actual Persian name. I didn't know any of that, but it was interesting to find out. I listed most of the meanings you guys gave me with the intention of showing them to Becca. I also got plenty of comments suggesting similar names, Marina, Nara, Nerina, Nerine, etc. And I wrote down some of them as well. Becca and I met for another playdate with the kids, and I showed her my lists. I also emphasized that she could still use the name Narina if she wanted to. At first, she politely turned everything down, including that last part. While Becca said she did like some of the names I told her about, her method consisted solely of creating new names with her husband. Apparently, they got to Narina by mixing and matching syllables until they had something that sounded nice. And finding out the name they'd created for their daughter also meant Nostril was enough for her to lose interest in it. Becca did love the name Nerina though. She didn't admit it until we were about to go our separate ways, but she said she'd mention it to her husband. And speak of the devil, her husband, as far as I know, is still pissed at me. He didn't try to contact me again, but Becca said he rolled his eyes when she mentioned the upcoming playdate. Apparently, he's the one who came up with the order of the syllables that resulted in Narina and was upset I'd ruin it. I told Becca I didn't want to hear from her husband again. She agreed that his phone call was extremely inappropriate and promised to tell him not to contact me any further. Look, I'm not gonna lie. I'm really effing glad that they're not naming their kid Nostril. I'm also really proud of myself for holding in my laughter when I first heard that. But I know that Becca is a great mother who is perfectly capable of naming her children, so I know her daughter's names will be beautiful. I think that's all. Becca's baby might be named Nerina, that will depend on Nostril Sr. though. Also, for justice's sake, my daughter will be named Luciana. Feel free to translate it, but seriously, thank you guys. Look, Whoopi, in my opinion, the important thing is that your friendship with Becca is intact. You guys can still talk, there's no problem with the play dates, your son's got no issues with the other daughter, so that's good. Now, personally, one thing I wouldn't recommend is to let kids name their siblings. And not that it's the same, but for example, about a year and a half ago, we had to get a bigger car because we were having a third kid. So I asked my two oldest to please name the car. You know, to make it fun, because we also name every single appliance we have in this house. Each one would get to choose a word. My daughter, she chose the word glitter, because she loves glitter. And my son, who was 3 at the time, he chose the word fart, which in German means drive, but it doesn't really matter. Our car's name is Glitterfart. So yeah, there's some useless information. Anyways, thanks for sharing, OP. All the best in the future and take care. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out. So here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.